He thought pushing Marcus into the pool was just a harmless prank. But when Marcus didn't come back up, everything changed. The laughter died. The sirens grew louder. And Karen, the HOA president who'd been filming the whole thing, suddenly had the power to destroy them all, or save the one person no one expected. The water hit Marcus' chin like a wall of ice, even though it was July in Florida and the community pool was supposed to be heated to 78 degrees. He'd barely had time to register Tyler Brennan's hands on his back before gravity took over, and the world became a churning mess of chlorine and confusion. His phone, his keys, his insulin pump. The thought detonated in his brain as water flooded his nose. The pump, the $7,000 piece of medical equipment that kept him alive, was now submerged, its delicate electronics probably frying in real time against his abdomen. Marcus broke the surface, gasping, his hand instinctively going to the device clipped to his belt. Through the water streaming down his face, he could see Tyler doubled over with laughter on the pool deck, his phone out, recording. Behind him, a crowd of residents had gathered for the Pinewood Springs HOA's mandatory Summer Social, an event that had been on Karen Whitmore's agenda for 6 months. "Dude, your face," Tyler wheezed, his 23-year-old frat boy energy completely unchecked despite graduating college 2 years ago. "That was perfect. This is going straight to TikTok." Marcus's vision blurred at the edges. Not from the water, from rage, from fear. From the very real possibility that his continuous glucose monitor was already dead, leaving him flying blind for the first time in 3 years. "You absolute—" Marcus started swimming toward the ladder, his soaked business-casual clothes dragging at his limbs. He'd come straight from work, hadn't even had time to change. The quarterly report meeting had run late. He'd only stopped by because Karen had sent 3 separate emails warning about mandatory attendance and potential fines for noncompliance. "Marcus, are you all right?" The voice cut through his fury like a scalpel, cool, measured, and carrying the kind of authority that made grown men check their recycling bin placement. Karen Whitmore stood at the pool's edge, her tablet clutched against her chest, her silver hair immaculate despite the Florida humidity. At 56, she ruled the Pinewood Springs HOA with an iron fist wrapped in passive-aggressive emails and laminated bylaws. "Do I look all right?" Marcus hauled himself onto the deck, water pouring from his khakis and button-down. His insulin pump beeped once, a death rattle then went silent. The screen was black. "Tyler just destroyed my medical equipment. That's assault." "It was a joke, man." Tyler's smile faltered, but only slightly. His father owned 3 car dealerships in Tampa. Consequences had never been part of his vocabulary. "You're being dramatic." "Dramatic?" Marcus's hand trembled as he unclipped the pump. $7,000. His insurance had fought him for 8 months before approving it. The appeal process had required letters from 3 different doctors. "This keeps me alive, you entitled piece of—" "Language, Marcus." Karen's voice could have frozen the pool water. "We're at a community event." "He just assaulted me." "I saw horseplay." Karen's eyes, pale blue and calculating, moved from Marcus to Tyler. "Rough behavior, certainly, but assault seems excessive." Marcus felt the ground shift beneath him, and it had nothing to do with his blood sugar. "You're defending him." "I'm stating what I observed." Karen tapped something on her tablet. "However, Tyler, this is your 3rd incident this summer. The noise complaints from your unit, the unauthorized parking in Mrs. Chen's spot." "That's my mother's spot," Marcus interjected. "And now this disruption of a community event." Karen's finger hovered over her screen. "I'll need to review the footage." "Footage?" Tyler's confidence cracked slightly. "I film all HOA events, liability purposes." Karen angled her tablet so they could see the paused video, Tyler's hands on Marcus's back, the moment of impact, Marcus's genuine terror as he disappeared beneath the surface. "The board will need to review this at our next meeting." Marcus squeezed water from his shirt, his mind racing. The pump was dead. He'd need to switch back to manual injections until he could get a replacement. Call his endocrinologist, deal with insurance again. Miss work for appointments. All because some overgrown child thought assault was content. "I want him charged," Marcus said quietly. "Criminally, that pump cost $7,000. "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Tyler's hands came up defensive. "It was an accident. I didn't know about your medical thing." "Everyone knows about my diabetes. I've lived here for 4 years. You've seen me test my blood sugar at every single pool party." "I don't pay attention to that stuff, man." Clearly, the crowd had gone silent, watching. Marcus recognized most of them. Mrs. Chen, his mother, standing near the refreshment table with her hand over her mouth. The Pattersons from Building C, old Mr. Rodriguez, who'd helped Marcus move in when he first bought his condo. All witnesses. Karen tapped her tablet again. Tyler, I'll need your insurance information for the incident report. My insurance? What does that have to do with anything? Property damage, medical equipment. If Marcus pursues this legally, and I believe he has grounds, the HOA needs documentation. Karen's voice remained neutral, but something flickered in her eyes. Your lease is through your father's company, correct? Brennan Holdings. Tyler's face went pale. You're not going to call my dad. I'm going to follow protocol. Karen turned to Marcus. Do you need medical attention? I need a new insulin pump, and I need to file a police report. No, come on. Tyler stepped forward. Marcus, buddy, let's work this out. I'll pay for the pump. We don't need cops involved. Buddy, the word tasted like poison in Marcus's mouth. You've never said more than 5 words to me. You've complained about my ethnic cooking smells to the HOA twice. You've blocked my parking spot with your Jeep 4 times. And now you've destroyed medical equipment that I need to live. We're not buddies. The cooking thing wasn't racist, it was just. Save it. Marcus pulled out his phone, miraculously still functioning in its waterproof case. I'm calling 911. Marcus, wait. Karen's hand touched his arm, a surprisingly gentle gesture. Let's think strategically. Strategically? Police reports take hours. You're soaking wet. Your blood sugar is likely unstable. Your mother is terrified. Karen nodded toward Mrs. Chen, who looked like she might faint. What you need is to get home, dry, and stabilized. What Tyler needs is to understand that actions have consequences. What I need is to ensure this never happens again in our community. Marcus stared at her. In 4 years, Karen had fined him twice, once for having his trash bins out 14 hours early, once for a small oil stain in his parking spot. She'd rejected his request to paint his front door navy instead of the approved coastal beige. She'd sent him a certified letter about his doormat being 1 inch too large per HOA guidelines. She'd never touched him gently. She'd never called him by his first name this many times in one conversation. What are you suggesting? Marcus asked. An emergency board meeting. Tonight, Tyler will appear before the board and will determine appropriate action, financial restitution for your pump, a formal apology, and depending on what the board decides. Karen's eyes locked onto Tyler with an intensity that made him flinch, potential lease termination. You can't kick me out for a prank. I can enforce our community standards clause, disruptive behavior, threat to resident safety, destruction of personal property. Karen's smile was thin and sharp. Your father's company signed a lease that gave the HOA broad discretionary powers. He wanted to save money on the security deposit. Tyler's jaw worked, but no sound came out. Marcus should have felt victorious. Instead, he felt exhausted. His wet clothes clung to him like a second skin. His mother was crying quietly by the refreshment table. His blood sugar was dropping. He could feel it, the slight tremor in his hands, the way sound seemed slightly muffled. I need to go home, Marcus said. We'll talk later. 8 p.m., board meeting room. Karen typed something on her tablet. Tyler, you'll receive an official summons via email within the hour. Failure to appear will result in immediate lease violation proceedings. This is insane, but Tyler's voice had lost its swagger. Marcus walked toward his mother, leaving a trail of water droplets across the concrete. Behind him, he heard Karen's voice, crisp and clear. Everyone, the social will resume in 10 minutes. Please enjoy the refreshments. And let this serve as a reminder, our community standards exist for everyone's protection. Mrs. Chen grabbed Marcus's arm the moment he reached her, her small frame surprisingly strong. Are you okay? Your pump. Oh God, Marcus, we need to get you home. I'm okay, Mom. I'll switch to injections tonight, it's fine. It's not fine, that boy. We'll get what's coming to him. Marcus glanced back. Karen was speaking to Tyler, her posture rigid, her finger jabbing toward his chest. Tyler had shrunk into himself, all his cocky confidence evaporated. Around them, the other residents were whispering, phones out, probably already posting about it in the neighborhood Facebook group. As Marcus walked toward the parking lot with his mother, his phone buzzed. An email from Karen Whitmore, sent to both him and Tyler. Emergency HOA board meeting. Date, tonight 8:00 p.m. Subject, Incident 2024-0717A, Assault, Property Damage, Community Safety. Required attendees, Tyler Brennan, Marcus Chen. Board members, Karen Whitmore, President, Donald Kim, Treasurer, Sarah Martinez, Secretary. Tyler, bring all insurance documentation and be prepared to make a formal statement. Your father may attend but may not speak on your behalf. Marcus, bring documentation of your damaged equipment, including purchase receipts and insurance information. Medical documentation of your condition is recommended but not required. This meeting will determine appropriate action up to and including financial penalties, mandatory community service, and/or lease termination. All proceedings will be recorded. Per HOA Bylaws Section 7.3, decisions made during emergency meetings are binding and take effect immediately. Karen Whitmore, HOA President, Pinewood Springs Community Association. Marcus's hands were still shaking as he unlocked his car. The leather seats were going to be soaked. His pump was dead. His favorite work shirt was probably ruined. And in 3 hours, he'd have to sit across from Tyler Brennan and explain to a board of 3 people why he deserved justice for something that should have been obviously wrong. But as he pulled out of the parking lot, he caught a glimpse of Karen in his rearview mirror. She was standing alone by the pool, her tablet down at her side, watching him leave. And for the first time since moving to Pinewood Springs, Marcus wondered if maybe, just maybe, Karen Whitmore wasn't the villain of this story after all. Marcus's condo smelled like the ginger chicken his mother had made 3 days ago, a scent that Tyler had complained about in an email to the HOA titled "Offensive Odors Violating Community Standards." Marcus had framed that email. It hung in his kitchen next to his college diploma. Now, sitting at his dining table with his emergency insulin kit spread out like surgical instruments, Marcus stabbed his thigh with more force than necessary. The injection burned. Everything burned. "You need to eat something." His mother hovered near the kitchen, wringing her hands. At 62, Eleanor Chen had survived the fall of Saigon, 20 years as a nurse in understaffed emergency rooms, and Marcus's father's sudden death from a heart attack. But watching her son deal with diabetes still undid her. "I have leftover rice, some soup." "I'm fine, Mom." "You're not fine. That boy could have killed you. What if you hit your head? What if?" "But I didn't." Marcus checked his backup glucose monitor, the old-fashioned kind that required finger pricks. 142, higher than he wanted but stable. And in 2 hours, he's going to face the board. Karen Whitmore's board. Eleanor's voice dripped with skepticism. She'd received her own share of violation notices, once for hanging laundry on her balcony, once for planting vegetables in the decorative-only garden beds. "That woman has no soul. She'll probably fine you for getting the pool deck wet." Marcus almost laughed, almost. She seemed different today. "Different how?" "I don't know, protective almost." He rolled down his pant leg, wincing at the injection site. She had everything on video, she knew exactly what happened, and she went straight for Tyler's weak spot, his father's lease agreement. Eleanor moved closer, her nurse instincts taking over as she checked his glucose monitor reading. "Karen Whitmore doesn't do anything without a reason. That woman has an agenda behind every email signature." A knock at the door made them both jump. Marcus checked the peephole. Donald Kim stood in the hallway, holding a file folder and looking uncomfortable in khakis and a polo shirt with the Pinewood Springs logo embroidered over the chest. At 47, Donald was the HOA treasurer and the only board member who'd ever voted against one of Karen's proposals, once 3 years ago regarding the color of the community mailboxes. He'd lost. Marcus opened the door. "Donald." "Hey, Marcus, can I come in? I won't take much of your time." Eleanor disappeared into the kitchen, but Marcus could feel her listening from around the corner. Donald sat on the couch without waiting for an invitation, setting his folder on the coffee table. "I heard about what happened. How's your pump?" "Dead, $7,000 of dead." "Jesus." Donald ran a hand through his thinning hair. "Look, I'm going to be straight with you because we've got 2 hours before this board meeting turns into a circus. Karen's planning something." "Planning what?" "I don't know exactly, but she called me 30 minutes ago, asked me about Tyler's father, James Brennan, wanted to know everything I knew about Brennan Holdings, their properties, their business dealings." Donald leaned forward. Marcus, Karen doesn't make small talk. When she asks questions, she's building a case. A case for what? I'm the victim here. I know that, you know that, but Karen. Donald opened his folder, revealing printouts of what looked like financial documents. She's been tracking Tyler for months, every noise complaint, every parking violation, every time he's had a party that went past quiet hours. She's documented everything. Marcus moved closer, scanning the papers. There were photos, Tyler's Jeep parked across 2 spaces, Tyler smoking on the balcony despite the no-smoking policy, Tyler and his friends throwing beer bottles off the 3rd-floor balcony at 2 a.m. Dates, times, witness statements. Why would she track him this obsessively? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Donald pulled out another sheet, an email exchange between Karen and James Brennan from 6 months ago. Tyler's dad tried to negotiate a lower HOA fee when he signed the lease, claimed his company deserved a corporate discount for renting multiple units in the community. Karen denied it. He pushed back. She shut him down hard. And then, Donald tapped the email. He sent this. Marcus Reed. Ms. Whitmore, your petty power games might work on the retirees and immigrants in your little community, but Brennan Holdings doesn't bow to HOA tyrants. My son will rent that unit at the rate I specify, or I'll make sure every property owner in Tampa knows what a nightmare it is to deal with your organization. I have connections on the county board. Don't test me. James Brennan, CEO, Brennan Holdings. Holy shit, Marcus whispered. She never responded to that email, just quietly accepted his original rate and let Tyler move in. Donald's expression was grim. But Karen Whitmore doesn't forget, and she sure as hell doesn't forgive. So this isn't about me at all. Oh, it's about you. Your pump, your safety, your rights. But Marcus, Karen's been waiting for Tyler to screw up badly enough that she could go nuclear, and today he finally gave her the ammunition. Marcus's phone buzzed. Another email from Karen. Marcus, please bring any medical documentation you have regarding your diabetes and insulin pump. Your endocrinologist's contact information would also be helpful. If you have past correspondence with your insurance company about the pump's cost and medical necessity, include that as well. Also, do you have anyone who can speak to Tyler's past behavior toward you? Witnesses to previous incidents. K. Whitmore. See, Donald pointed at the phone. She's not just building a case for tonight's meeting, she's building something bigger. Should I be worried? No, maybe, I don't know. Donald stood, gathering his papers. Look, Tyler deserves whatever's coming. What he did was assault, plain and simple. But when Karen's in her element, people get caught in the crossfire. Just be prepared for this to escalate beyond a simple board meeting. After Donald left, Marcus sat in silence. His mother emerged from the kitchen, 2 bowls of soup in her hands. You heard all that, Marcus said. Every word. Alina set the soup down. That Brennan boy threatened her. His father tried to humiliate her. So she's using me for revenge. Or she's finally using someone else's pain as an excuse to do what she's wanted to do for months, get rid of a problem. Alina sat beside him. Does it matter? Either way, that boy pays for what he did. Marcus's phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Karen. It was a text from an unknown number. Dude, please don't show up tonight. I'll Venmo you for the pump right now. $10K, whatever you want, just don't make this a thing. My dad will kill me. It's Tyler, Marcus said, showing his mother. Another text followed. I'm serious, name your price. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wasn't thinking, please. Then another. Karen's trying to destroy me. She hates my dad. Don't let her use you. Alina read over his shoulder. He's scared. Good. Marcus. What? He turned to face her. Mom, he pushed me into a pool. He destroyed my medical equipment. He's complained about my ethnic cooking, blocked my parking spot, and never once acknowledged me as a human being. And now he wants me to take $10,000 and pretend it didn't happen. I'm not saying take his money. I'm saying be careful. When powerful people fight, regular people get hurt. Marcus stared at his phone. Tyler's messages kept coming. $15K, cash, tonight, just say you tripped. Please, man, my dad already hates me. This will ruin everything. Karen has it out for my family. She's a psycho. Everyone knows it. Marcus typed one response. See you at 8 p.m. The HOA board meeting room was smaller than Marcus remembered. barely large enough for the fold-out table, 6 chairs, and the American flag drooping in the corner. The air conditioning was broken, and the July heat had turned the space into a sweatbox. Corinne sat at the head of the table, her tablet glowing, her posture perfect despite the humidity. Sarah Martinez, the HOA secretary, sat to her right, looking nervous and overdressed in a full business suit. Donald sat to Corinne's left, his expression carefully neutral. Tyler slouched in one of the visitor chairs, his phone in his hand, thumbs moving frantically. He'd changed into a polo shirt and clean jeans, his version of formal wear. His father wasn't with him. Marcus took the remaining visitor chair, a manila folder of documentation in his lap. Insurance papers, medical records, the destroyed insulin pump, now in a Ziploc bag like evidence at a crime scene. Corinne checked her watch. It's 8:02, we'll begin. Shouldn't we wait for my dad? Tyler asked without looking up from his phone. You're 23 years old. You speak for yourself. Corinne tapped her tablet. This emergency board meeting has been called to address incident 2024-0717A. Tyler Brennan, you're accused of assault, destruction of personal property, and violation of Community Standards Section 7.3, which states, residents must conduct themselves in a manner that ensures the safety, comfort, and peace of mind of all community members. It was a prank. It was assault. Corinne's voice could have cut glass. Marcus, please describe what happened. Marcus laid it out chronologically, arriving at the mandatory social. Tyler's hands on his back, the water, the destroyed pump. Tyler's laughter and attempt to film it for social media, every detail precise and factual. Tyler rolled his eyes. Dude, you're making it sound so dramatic, I barely touched you. You barely, Marcus felt his blood pressure spike. You destroyed a $7,000 medical device, which I offered to pay for multiple times. You're the one who's being stubborn about this. Stubborn? Marcus leaned forward. You want to Venmo me $15,000 and have me lie about what happened. That's not restitution, that's a bribe. Sarah Martinez's pen stopped moving. You attempted to bribe Mr. Chen. I tried to settle this privately. Tyler finally looked up from his phone. Before this turned into a whole thing with lawyers and cops, and he gestured at the room. This ridiculous HOA tribunal. This ridiculous tribunal has the power to terminate your lease, Corinne said softly. I'd suggest adjusting your tone. Tyler's face flushed red. You know what? Fine. I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm sorry I pushed you in the pool. I'm sorry about your pump. I'll pay for it. Can we be done now? No, Corinne pulled up something on her tablet. Because this isn't your first incident. In the 6 months you've lived here, we've received 42 complaints about your behavior. 42, Donald blinked. I thought it was maybe a dozen. I've been documenting everything. Corinne turned her tablet around, showing a spreadsheet color-coded by severity. Noise violations, 26. Parking violations, 8. Property damage, 3, including urinating on Mrs. Patterson's hydrangeas at 3 a.m. That was never proven. You were filmed by her Ring camera. Tyler's confidence cracked completely. Look, I've been going through stuff, okay? My dad's on my case about getting a real job. My girlfriend dumped me. I've been stressed. Stress doesn't excuse assault, Sarah said quietly. It wasn't assault. Jesus Christ, you people act like I tried to murder him. The room went silent. Even Tyler seemed to realize he'd gone too far. Marcus's hands trembled as he opened his folder. Inside was the email Tyler had sent to the HOA 3 months ago, the one about offensive ethnic cooking smells. Marcus had brought it specifically for this moment. You want to talk about what you've been going through? Marcus slid the email across the table to Corinne. How about what I've been going through? Being the only Asian family in this building. Having you complain about my mother's cooking like it's a biohazard. Having you block my parking spot because you think I don't belong here. Having you ignore me in the hallway like I'm invisible. I never said you don't belong here. You didn't have to say it. Marcus's voice was steady now, cold. People like you never do. You just make life uncomfortable enough that people like me eventually leave. Corinne read the email, her expression unreadable. When she looked up, something had changed in her eyes. Tyler Brennan, she said, do you have anything else to say in your defense? Tyler's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and whatever he saw there made him pale. My dad's outside. He wants to come in. This is a closed board meeting. He's threatening to sue. For what? Coren's smile was razor-thin. For holding his adult son accountable for assault. Tyler stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. You've had it out for me since day one. This whole thing is a setup. You're a miserable woman with a pathetic life who gets off on controlling people. The room froze. Coren stood slowly, deliberately. She was 5'4", a full 8 inches shorter than Tyler, but somehow she made him look small. Your lease is terminated, she said. Effective immediately. You have 72 hours to vacate the premises. Any belongings not removed will be considered abandoned and disposed of per Florida Statute 83.67. You can't. I can, Section 7.3, Clause D. The board reserves the right to terminate any lease that poses a clear and present danger to community safety. You assaulted a resident. You destroyed medical equipment. You attempted to bribe the victim. And just now you verbally harassed a board member during official proceedings. Coren tapped her tablet. Donald, Sarah, I call for an emergency vote on lease termination. All in favor. Donald's hand went up immediately. Sarah hesitated for 3 seconds, then raised hers. Motion passes, 3-0. Coren made a note. Tyler, you'll receive formal termination notice via email within the hour. Your father's company will be billed for early termination fees, property damage assessment, and Mr. Chen's medical equipment replacement. Total estimated cost, $47,000. 47, Tyler's face went purple. That's insane. That's accountability. Coren turned to Marcus. Mr. Chen, the board will cover your pump replacement through our liability insurance. You'll have a check within 10 business days. We'll also issue a formal letter of apology on community letterhead and include documentation of this incident should you choose to pursue criminal charges. Marcus couldn't speak. He'd come here expecting a slap on the wrist, maybe a fine, possibly nothing at all. He hadn't expected Coren Whitmore to detonate Tyler's entire life. Tyler grabbed his phone, his hands shaking. My dad's going to destroy you, all of you. He knows people, county commissioners, lawyers. He'll do nothing. Coren's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Because if he tries, I'll make sure every property management company in Tampa Bay knows that Brennan Holdings leased to a tenant who committed assault and that his father attempted to interfere with a legitimate HOA investigation. His company's reputation will be worthless. She leaned closer, and Marcus could see the steel beneath her suburban grandmother exterior. Your father threatened me 6 months ago, Tyler. He tried to humiliate me in front of my board. He called me a tyrant. He said I was powerless. Coren smiled, and it was terrifying. Tell him I'm not. Tyler stumbled toward the door, his bravado completely shattered. As he wrenched it open, his father stood in the hallway, a tall, red-faced man in an expensive suit, already yelling into his phone. The door slammed shut. Marcus sat in the suddenly silent room, his heart pounding. Sarah was staring at her notepad. Donald was very carefully not looking at anyone. Coren returned to her seat, her composure absolute. Marcus, you're free to go. Again, we apologize for what happened in our community. It won't happen again. Coren, Marcus started. Ms. Whitmore, thank you. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. She pulled up a new screen on her tablet. Justice doesn't require gratitude. It requires action. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a termination letter to draft. Marcus walked out into the humid Florida night, his head spinning. Through the window, he could see James Brennan screaming at his son in the parking lot, gesturing wildly, his face crimson with rage. Elena was waiting by Marcus's car, arms crossed. Well, she evicted him immediately, and she's billing his father $47,000. His mother's eyebrows shot up. 47. Coren doesn't do anything halfway, apparently. They watched as Tyler threw his phone at his father's car, missing by a foot. James Brennan grabbed his son by the shirt, shaking him. Maybe Donald was right, Marcus said quietly. Maybe I got caught in something bigger. Maybe, Elena unlocked the car. Or maybe that woman just needed someone to be worth fighting for, and today that someone was you. As they drove away, Marcus glanced in his rearview mirror. Coren stood in the doorway of the board meeting room, backlit and alone, watching the Brennans' meltdown with the expression of a chess player who just claimed checkmate. For the first time in 4 years, Marcus wondered what else Coren Whitmore was capable of. He had a feeling he was about to find out. The eviction notice appeared on Tyler's door at 6:47 a.m., printed on official HOA letterhead and sealed in a plastic weatherproof sleeve. By 7:15, half the building had photographed it and posted it to the Pinewood Springs Facebook group. By 8:00, the comment section had exploded into a 300-message war between Team Karen and Team Brennan. Marcus discovered all of this while eating breakfast and monitoring his blood sugar, still manual injections until the insurance paperwork cleared. His mother had already left for her shift at Tampa General, but she taped a note to the coffee maker: "Be careful today. Angry men do stupid things." His phone buzzed with a Facebook notification. Someone had tagged him in the community group. Against his better judgment, Marcus opened it. "Deborah Patterson, I can't believe Karen actually did it. Tyler Brennan ASSAULTED Marcus Chen and destroyed his medical equipment. He's lucky she didn't call the police. Robert Callahan, this is a witch hunt. Karen's been looking for an excuse to go after the Brennans since day one. She's drunk on power. Maylin Torres, my Ring camera caught Tyler peeing on my roses last month. He laughed about it. Good riddance." Anonymous account. Karen Whitmore is a vindictive bitch who gets off on ruining people's lives. Wait until this goes to court. The Brennans will own this whole complex. Marcus closed the app. His hands were shaking again, but not from low blood sugar. He was showering when someone pounded on his door, aggressive, rhythmic, the kind of knocking that meant trouble. Marcus threw on jeans and a t-shirt, water still dripping from his hair. Through the peephole, he saw James Brennan. The man looked like he hadn't slept. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his tie loose, his eyes bloodshot. He held a leather briefcase in one hand and what looked like a cashier's check in the other. Every instinct screamed at Marcus not to open the door. He opened it anyway, keeping the chain lock engaged. "Mr. Chen," James Brennan's voice was carefully controlled, the kind of calm that came from years of negotiating car deals. "I apologize for the early visit. Could we speak for a moment?" "I don't think that's a good idea." "Please, 5 minutes. I want to apologize for my son's behavior and discuss compensation." Marcus hesitated. Through the 3-inch gap, he could see Mrs. Rodriguez across the hallway, her door cracked, watching. Good witnesses. He unhooked the chain and stepped into the hallway, pulling his door shut behind him. "You can talk out here." James Brennan glanced at Mrs. Rodriguez, who didn't even pretend to look away. His jaw tightened, but he held up the check. $25,000, made out to you. Covers your insulin pump, your time, your inconvenience, and then some. All I ask is that you sign a statement saying the incident was an accident and that you don't wish to pursue criminal charges. Your son already offered me $15,000 over text. You're only $10,000 more desperate." "I'm not desperate, Mr. Chen. I'm being reasonable. Tyler made a mistake, a serious one, but destroying his life over one bad decision seems excessive. He destroyed my medical equipment I need to stay alive. And I'm paying for it, generously." James Brennan stepped closer, and Marcus caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with stale coffee. "But Karen Whitmore isn't doing this for you. She's doing this to get back at me. You're just the excuse she needed." "So I've heard." "Then you understand you're being used. Karen doesn't care about you or your pump. She cares about power, about control, about making sure everyone in this community knows she's in charge." The businessman's mask slipped slightly, revealing genuine anger underneath. 6 months ago, I tried to negotiate a fair rate for my son's lease. She took it as a personal insult. She's been waiting for Tyler to screw up ever since." Marcus crossed his arms. "Maybe your son shouldn't have given her the opportunity. He's 23 years old. He's immature, yes, thoughtless, absolutely, but he's not a criminal, and that woman is treating this like he committed murder." James held out the check again. "Take this, sign the statement, let's all move on with our lives." "And the eviction?" "I'll fight it in court, but that's between my lawyers and the HOA. You don't need to be involved." Mrs. Rodriguez's door opened wider. She was recording on her phone now, not even trying to hide it. Marcus thought about his mother's note, about Donald's warning, about Karen's calculated precision during the board meeting, about Tyler's texts, desperate and panicked. "No," Marcus said. "Excuse me." "No, I won't sign your statement. No, I won't take your money. What your son did wasn't a mistake, it was assault. And maybe Karen does have an agenda, but that doesn't make what happened to me less real." Marcus felt something solidify in his chest. Your son has spent 6 months making this community worse for everyone in it. Maybe it's time someone held him accountable. James Brennan's carefully controlled expression cracked. You're making a very stupid decision. Is that a threat? It's a fact. You think Karen Whitmore is your friend now? Wait until you're the one who steps out of line. Wait until you plant the wrong flowers or paint your door the wrong color. She'll destroy you just as quickly. He shoved the check into his briefcase. You had a chance to walk away from this cleanly. Don't say I didn't warn you. He turned and walked toward the elevator, his footsteps echoing in the hallway. Mrs. Rodriguez stopped recording. You did the right thing, Mijo. Did I? That man is used to buying his way out of problems. It's good someone finally told him no. She smiled, her weathered face kind. Your mother would be proud. Marcus's phone exploded with notifications over the next hour. Facebook messages, texts from neighbors he barely knew. Even an email from Sarah Martinez, the HOA secretary, with the subject line, "Thank you for your courage." But the message that made his stomach drop came at 10:47 a.m. from an unknown number. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. My dad's lawyers are going to bury you, and when this is over, you're going to wish you'd taken the money. Tyler. Marcus screenshotted the message and forwarded it to Karen without comment. Her response came within 2 minutes, documented, "Thank you. This constitutes harassment and strengthens our case. Do not respond to him." Then 5 seconds later, "Are you available this afternoon? 2 p.m. I have something to discuss with you." Marcus stared at his phone, every warning echoed in his head. Donald's concern, his mother's caution, James Brennan's prediction. You think Karen Whitmore is your friend now? Wait until you're the one who steps out of line. He typed, "I'll be there." Karen's unit was in Building A, the oldest and most prestigious in the complex. She'd lived there for 18 years, since before it was even called Pinewood Springs, back when it was still called Oakmont Gardens, and the HOA was a disorganized mess of unpaid dues and peeling paint. Marcus had never been inside. The door opened before he could knock. Karen stood there in slacks and a crisp white blouse, her silver hair pulled back, her expression unreadable. "Marcus, come in." The interior was exactly what he expected and nothing like it at the same time. Immaculate, yes. Organized, absolutely. But also warm in a way that surprised him. Family photos covered one wall, Karen with a man who must have been her husband, both of them younger, laughing on a beach. Karen with 2 teenage girls, all wearing matching Christmas sweaters. The girls as adults, graduation photos, wedding photos. "My daughters," Karen said, following his gaze. "Emma lives in Seattle, Sophie's in Boston. They think I'm crazy for staying here, running the HOA. They don't understand." Understand what? That community matters, that someone has to care about maintaining standards even when it's thankless. She gestured to the couch. "Sit, would you like tea?" "I'm fine." Karen sat across from him in a high-backed chair that looked like a throne. For a moment, neither spoke. Through the window, Marcus could see the pool, empty now, the water still and blue. "James Brennan came to see you this morning," Karen said. "How did you?" "Mrs. Rodriguez called me. She was worried." Karen's expression softened slightly. "She said you turned down $25,000. That was either very brave or very stupid." "I'm still figuring out which." "It was brave." Karen leaned forward, her hands folded in her lap. "Marcus, I need to be honest with you. You've been pulled into something that started long before yesterday's incident. You deserve to know what you're dealing with." "Donald already told me. James Brennan tried to push you around 6 months ago. You documented Tyler's behavior and waited for him to give you ammunition." "That's part of it, but not all of it." Karen pulled out a folder from the side table, much thicker than the one Donald had shown him. "James Brennan owns 12 properties in this county, 6 commercial, 6 residential. He's a shark who's made his fortune on aggressive negotiation and bullying smaller players out of the market." She opened the folder. Inside were bank statements, property records, email exchanges. 2 years ago, he tried to buy Pinewood Springs, made an offer to our property management company, 20% below market value. When they refused, he launched a campaign to tank our property values, hired people to leave negative reviews, spread rumors about crime and poor maintenance, tried to get 3 board members to resign through intimidation. Marcus felt cold. Why? So he could buy it cheaper. It's his pattern. Identify a property, devalue it, acquire it, flip it for profit. Karen's voice was steel. I've been fighting him for 2 years, and 6 months ago when he forced his son's lease through despite multiple red flags in the application, I knew he was making a move. So you used me? No, Karen met his eyes directly. I documented Tyler because he was genuinely a problem. The noise complaints were real. The property damage was real. The harassment of residents was real. Yes, I wanted James Brennan to face consequences for his behavior, but I would never have manufactured a crisis just to get leverage. But you're using this crisis now. I'm using evidence of legitimate wrongdoing to protect this community from a man who wants to destroy it. Karen pulled out another document, a purchase offer dated 3 days ago. James made a new offer on Monday, 30% below market value. Our management company is considering it because we're having budget problems, deferred maintenance, aging infrastructure. If we don't make major repairs soon, property values will tank anyway. Marcus read the offer. The numbers made his head spin. What happens if he buys the complex? He raises fees by 50%, makes minimum repairs, flips it to a large property management corporation within 2 years, and everyone who can't afford the new fees, people like your mother, like Mrs. Rodriguez, like the Pattersons, they'll be forced out. Karen's hands trembled slightly. I've spent 18 years building this community. I'm not letting him destroy it so he can make $3 million. So what do you want from me? Karen pulled out one final document, a legal complaint already drafted. I want you to press criminal charges against Tyler, assault and destruction of property. With your testimony and my documentation, we can get a conviction. Not jail time, probably, first offense, affluent family, but a criminal record. And that helps you how? James Brennan's company is trying to secure a major loan for a new development project. Banks don't like lending to companies with liabilities. And a lawsuit from a resident whose son committed assault on company-leased property, that's a liability. Karen's smile was cold. It won't stop him completely, but it'll slow him down. Give our management company time to find better offers. Give this community a fighting chance. Marcus stood, moving to the window. Below, he could see Tyler's Jeep in the parking lot, boxes piled in the back. The eviction was happening, real consequences for real actions. But this was bigger now. Corporate warfare disguised as community justice. You should have told me this from the beginning, Marcus said. Would you have helped if I had? I don't know, maybe, he turned to face her, but at least I would have had a choice. You have a choice now. Karen stood, moving beside him at the window. You can drop this, take James Brennan's money, sign his statement, walk away and let me fight this battle alone, or you can press charges, tell the truth, and help me protect people who can't protect themselves. By protecting you. Yes, by protecting me, I won't lie about that. Karen's voice was quiet now, almost vulnerable. I've made enemies doing this job, Marcus. I've been called a tyrant, a bitch, a miserable old woman with nothing better to do. And maybe there's truth in some of that. But I've also stopped rent increases, fought for better security, and kept this community from falling apart. Someone has to be the villain who cares. Marcus thought about his mother, working double shifts to afford her small condo. About Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd lived here for 15 years and had nowhere else to go. About the Pattersons, retired on fixed income, already struggling with medical bills. He thought about Tyler's smirk as he filmed Marcus flailing in the pool. About James Brennan's contemptuous offer, assuming everyone had a price. If I do this, Marcus said slowly, I need to know what I'm really agreeing to, all of it, no more surprises. Fair, Karen returned to her folder, pulling out a timeline. Here's what happens next. You press charges tomorrow. The police will investigate. They'll interview witnesses, review my footage, document your destroyed equipment. Tyler will likely be charged with misdemeanor assault and criminal mischief. His father will hire expensive lawyers. It'll drag out for 6 months, maybe a year. And during that time, James Brennan will do everything he can to discredit you. He'll have private investigators look into your background. He'll try to find dirt, any legal issues, financial problems, anything he can use. He'll make your life uncomfortable. Uncomfortable how? Harassment, legal threats. Maybe he'll contest your homeowner's insurance or file frivolous complaints with your employer. Men like him don't fight fair. Karen's expression was grave. I can't promise you'll come out of this unscathed, but I can promise I'll support you through it. Legal fees, documentation, witnesses, whatever you need. Marcus's phone buzzed. Another text from Tyler, last chance. 30K, right now, say yes or you'll regret it. He showed Karen the message. She photographed it immediately. That's felony witness intimidation if we can prove he's doing this to interfere with a criminal case. He's making this easier. Or more dangerous. Yes, Karen didn't sugarcoat it. Also more dangerous. Marcus looked at the photos on Karen's wall again. Her daughters, smiling and successful and far away. Her late husband, his arm around her shoulders, both of them young and full of hope. "Why do you do this?" Marcus asked. "Really, you could move to Seattle or Boston, be near your daughters. You don't need this stress." Karen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "My husband, Richard, died 11 years ago, heart attack. He was only 58, and in the year before he died, this community took care of us. Neighbors brought meals. Mrs. Rodriguez sat with him so I could sleep. Donald organized a fundraiser for medical bills." She touched the photo gently. "When you're at your lowest, you learn who your community really is, and I learned this place is worth protecting." She turned back to Marcus. "So yes, I'm using Tyler's assault to fight James Brennan, but I'm also fighting for the people who brought me casseroles when my husband died, for the kids who play in the pool every summer, for your mother who works herself to exhaustion to keep her home. Someone has to be willing to fight, and if that makes me a tyrant, so be it." Marcus's hands weren't shaking anymore. The fear was still there, of James Brennan's lawyers, of Tyler's harassment, of the long legal battle ahead. But underneath it was something else. "Clarity. I'll press charges," Marcus said, "but I have conditions." "Name them." "First, you keep me informed. No more surprises, no more information on a need-to-know basis. If this is going to blow up my life, I deserve to know what's coming." "Agreed." "Second, if this gets too dangerous, if the Brennans cross a line, we go to the police immediately. I won't be a martyr for anyone's cause." "Agreed." "Third," Marcus met her eyes, "if we win this, if we somehow keep James Brennan from buying this complex, you ease up on the petty stuff. My mother's vegetable garden, my doormat size, the cooking smell complaints. You focus on things that actually matter." For the first time since Marcus had met her, Karen Whitmore laughed. It was rusty, like an engine that hadn't turned over in years, but genuine. "You drive a hard bargain, Marcus Chen. I learned from the best." Karen held out her hand. "Do we have a deal?" Marcus shook it. Her grip was firm, her skin cool and dry. "We have a deal." That night, Marcus sat at his kitchen table filling out a police report while his mother cooked dinner. The form was longer than he expected, requiring detailed descriptions, timelines, witness information. His hand cramped by page 3. "You're sure about this?" Eleanor asked, stirring a pot of pho. The smell filled the apartment, lemongrass and star anise and home. "No, but I'm doing it anyway." "That's my boy." She ladled soup into bowls. "Your father would be proud." They ate in comfortable silence, the TV playing the news on mute. Through the window, Marcus could see Tyler's Jeep, now completely packed, pulling out of the parking lot for the last time. Tyler sat in the passenger seat, his father driving, both of them stone-faced. Marcus's phone buzzed. A message from Karen. "Tyler's moved out. James filed an appeal of the eviction with the county, but it'll take weeks. We bought time." Then another message. "Thank you, Marcus. I know this wasn't easy." Marcus typed back, "Nothing worthwhile ever is." He finished his soup, took his evening insulin injection, and submitted the police report online. The confirmation email arrived within minutes. "Your report has been received and assigned case number 2024 TB7701. An officer will contact you within 48 hours. Eleanor touched his shoulder. "No going back now." "No," Marcus agreed. "No going back." But as he got ready for bed, checking his blood sugar one final time, Marcus felt something unexpected. Not fear, not regret. Hope. Maybe Karen Whitmore was a tyrant. Maybe she was using him. Maybe this whole thing would explode in his face and he'd end up worse off than before. But for the first time since moving to Pinewood Springs 4 years ago, Marcus felt like he wasn't just surviving in his own home. He was fighting for it. And win or lose, that meant something. The detective assigned to Marcus's case was a tired-looking woman named Linda Vasquez, who showed up at his door on Saturday morning with a briefcase full of forms and an expression that said she'd seen everything twice. Mr. Chen, I'm Detective Vasquez, Tampa PD. Do you have a few minutes to go over your statement? Marcus invited her in, offering coffee that she accepted gratefully. Eleanor had already left for her shift, but not before cleaning the entire apartment and leaving a plate of bon mai on the counter, in case the detective is hungry. Vasquez sat at the dining table, pulling out a laptop and recorder. I've reviewed your initial report and the video footage from Ms. Whitmore. Pretty clear-cut case of assault and criminal mischief. The question is whether you want to pursue this. I do. Even knowing it'll get messy? Vasquez's dark eyes were sharp. I did some background on the Brennan family. James Brennan is connected. His lawyer is Mitchell Carrington, one of the most expensive defense attorneys in Tampa. They're going to make this difficult. I know. Do you? Vasquez leaned forward. Mr. Chen, I've worked assault cases for 12 years. When wealthy families are involved, victims get exhausted. The depositions, the court dates, the character assassination. People drop charges all the time because it's not worth the stress. Detective, with respect, are you trying to talk me out of pressing charges? I'm trying to make sure you know what you're signing up for. Vasquez's expression softened. But I'm also telling you that what Tyler Brennan did was wrong, and if you want to hold him accountable, I'll do everything I can to help you. So, are you sure? Marcus thought about James Brennan's check, about Tyler's threatening texts, about Corinne's folder full of evidence and her quiet admission that she needed him to protect a community she'd spent 18 years building. I'm sure. All right then, Vasquez hit record on her device. Let's go through everything step by step. They spent 2 hours reconstructing the incident. Vasquez was thorough, asking about Marcus's relationship with Tyler, any prior confrontations, the exact positioning of people at the pool. She examined the destroyed insulin pump, photographed it from multiple angles, and made notes about the medical necessity and cost. The video is our strongest evidence, Vasquez said, reviewing Corinne's footage on her laptop. Clear view of Tyler's hands on your back, your obvious distress in the water, his attempt to film you for social media. The fact that he offered money to make this go away actually strengthens our case, shows consciousness of guilt. What happens next? I submit my report to the state attorney's office. They'll review it and decide whether to file charges. Given the video evidence and the property damage, I'd say there's a 90% chance Tyler gets charged with misdemeanor assault and criminal mischief. Arraignment would be in about 3 weeks. And then his lawyer tries to get the charges dropped or reduced. They'll argue it was horseplay gone wrong, that you weren't seriously injured, that the pump damage was accidental. They'll probably offer a plea deal, probation, restitution, no jail time. Vasquez closed her laptop. But here's the thing, even if Tyler gets a slap on the wrist criminally, you can still sue him civilly. Pain and suffering, emotional distress, medical costs, that's where the real accountability happens. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Donald Kim, turn on Channel 8, now. Detective, can you hold on a second? Marcus grabbed the TV remote and switched to the local news. A polished anchor was mid-sentence. Controversy at a Tampa area homeowners association after a young man was evicted following an alleged assault. James Brennan, CEO of Brennan Holdings, held a press conference this morning claiming his son is the victim of a personal vendetta by the HOA president, Corinne Whitmore. The screen cut to James Brennan standing in front of a bank of microphones, looking devastated. Tyler stood beside him, eyes downcast, playing the role of repentant son. My son made a mistake, James said, his voice breaking slightly. He was horsing around at a pool party and accidentally knocked over another resident. It was immature, yes. Thoughtless, absolutely. But instead of handling it like neighbors, the HOA president, a woman who has held a grudge against my family for months, used this as an excuse to destroy my son's life. A reporter shouted a question Marcus couldn't hear. Tyler has already apologized, James continued. He offered to pay for any damages. He tried to make things right, but Ms. Whitmore refused to accept his apology. She evicted him within hours with no due process, no appeal, no mercy. And now we've learned she's encouraging the other resident to press criminal charges. This isn't about justice, it's about revenge. The camera zoomed in on Tyler, who looked up with rehearsed remorse. I'm really sorry for what happened. I never meant to hurt anyone. I just wish we could have worked this out like adults instead of turning it into this whole legal thing. Vasquez swore under her breath. He's trying to control the narrative, make himself the victim. The news segment continued with commentary from a legal expert who used phrases like HOA overreach and disproportionate response. They showed exterior shots of Pinewood Springs, making it look run down and poorly maintained. The chyron read, HOA tyrant or protective president. Marcus's phone exploded. Text messages poured in from neighbors, most supportive, some angry. The Facebook group had erupted into civil war. His email inbox dinged with 3 new messages from reporters requesting interviews. And then a call from an unknown number. Marcus answered without thinking, "Hello. Mr. Chen, this is Rachel Morrison from Channel 8 News. I'm doing a story on the incident at Pinewood Springs and wanted to get your side. Would you be willing to go on camera?" I don't think. James Brennan is painting you as vindictive and unreasonable. Don't you want to defend yourself? Detective Vasquez made a sharp cutting motion across her throat, shaking her head vigorously. "I have no comment," Marcus said and ended the call. "Good," Vasquez stood, gathering her materials. "Don't talk to the press. Don't post on social media. Don't respond to any of this circus. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court." "He's lying. Tyler didn't offer to pay for damages until after he destroyed my pump. And it wasn't an accident. He pushed me deliberately." "I know, the video proves it, but right now they're playing the PR game, making you look like the aggressor so when this goes to trial, potential jurors already have a negative impression of you." Vasquez handed Marcus her card. "If any reporters contact you, refer them to me. If you get any threats, call me immediately. And Mr. Chen, keep your head down. It's about to get worse before it gets better." After Vasquez left, Marcus sat in silence, watching the news coverage loop. They kept showing the same clip of James Brennan, his voice cracking with fatherly pain, Tyler looking young and vulnerable beside him. No mention of the 42 documented complaints against Tyler. No mention of his threatening texts. No mention of Marcus's destroyed insulin pump or the fact that he'd been attending a mandatory HOA event, not hosting a party. Just 2 sides, the vindictive HOA president and the remorseful young man who made one mistake. Marcus's phone rang again. This time it was Corinne. "I saw the news," she said without preamble. "Are you all right?" "Physically, fine. Mentally, I feel like I'm in a nightmare." James is good at this. He's done it before, control the narrative, make himself the victim, pressure people into backing down. Corinne's voice was tight. "But Marcus, we have something he doesn't have." "What's that?" "The truth, and it's on video." "The truth didn't matter in that news segment." "It will matter in court." A pause. "I'm calling an emergency community meeting. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. I'm going to show residents the unedited footage and let them see exactly what happened. James can spin this to the media all he wants, but he can't spin it to people who watched you pull yourself out of that pool with a dead insulin pump." "Corinne, that'll just escalate things." "Good, I'm done playing defense." Her voice turned cold. "James Brennan wants a war. He's about to learn what happens when you underestimate a vindictive old woman." She hung up before Marcus could respond. The emergency meeting was standing room only. Every resident who could walk had crammed into the community center, along with several local reporters who'd somehow gotten wind of it. Corinne stood at the front with a projector, her tablet connected, her expression serene. Marcus sat in the back with his mother, trying to be invisible. It didn't work. People kept turning to look at him, some sympathetic, some curious, some openly hostile. "Thank you all for coming," Corinne began. "I know many of you have seen the news coverage of the incident involving Tyler Brennan. I know some of you believe the HOA overreacted. That's why I've called this meeting, so you can see the full, unedited footage and make your own decision." She dimmed the lights and started the video. It was worse than Marcus remembered. Watching from an outside perspective, he could see Tyler's calculated approach, the deliberate positioning, the force of the push. He could see his own panic as he surfaced, the way he immediately grabbed for his insulin pump. He could see Tyler laughing, phone out, recording. And he could hear what he hadn't heard while underwater, Tyler's commentary as he filmed. "Bro, Chen looks like a drowning rat. This is going on TikTok for sure. Asian dude can't swim, boom, viral." The room went dead silent. Corinne let the video play to the end, showing Tyler's dismissive attitude, his refusal to apologize, his attempt to blame Marcus for being dramatic. Then she switched to another clip, Tyler's Ring camera footage of him urinating on Mrs. Patterson's garden at 3 a.m., laughing with his friends. Then another, Tyler throwing beer bottles off his balcony. Then another, Tyler's car blocking the handicapped spot while he ran inside just for 5 minutes. These are just a few examples, Karen said quietly. The board has documented 42 separate incidents over 6 months. Noise violations, property damage, harassment of residents. This wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern of behavior that culminated in assault. She turned the lights back on. Several residents were in tears. Mrs. Patterson looked like she wanted to commit murder. But don't take my word for it, Karen continued. I've invited Detective Linda Vasquez from Tampa PD to explain the criminal investigation. Vasquez stood, introducing herself professionally. Based on the evidence, the state attorney's office has decided to file charges against Tyler Brennan. 2 counts, misdemeanor assault and criminal mischief. The arraignment is scheduled for August 15th. A hand shot up from the crowd. Robert Callahan, one of the residents who defended Tyler online. What about the HOA's responsibility here? You evicted Tyler without due process. You didn't give him a chance to defend himself. The emergency board meeting was his due process, Karen replied. He was invited, he attended, he was given the opportunity to speak. The board voted unanimously to terminate his lease based on Section 7.3 of our bylaws, which states. We know what it states, Callahan interrupted. But this seems personal. Your vendetta against James Brennan is public knowledge. Karen's smile was razor-thin. You're absolutely right. It is personal. James Brennan has spent 2 years trying to devalue this community so he can buy it cheaply. He's left fake negative reviews online. He's spread rumors about crime that don't exist. He's tried to intimidate board members into resigning. And 6 months ago, he threatened me directly in an email. She pulled up the email on the projector, James Brennan's message about petty power games and immigrants, and his connections on the county board. The room erupted in angry murmurs. So yes, Karen continued, her voice rising above the noise, when Tyler Brennan moved in and immediately began violating community standards, I documented everything. Because I knew his father would use any lack of evidence to claim we were targeting his son unfairly. I wanted an ironclad case, and thanks to Tyler's behavior, I got one. She advanced the slides, showing James Brennan's purchase offers, each one lower than the last. This is what he wants, to buy Pinewood Springs at bankruptcy prices, jack up the fees, and flip it for profit. And the residents who can't afford the new rates, people like Mrs. Rodriguez, who's lived here for 15 years on a fixed income, they'll be forced out. Mrs. Rodriguez stood, her voice shaking. I didn't know this. Why didn't you tell us? Because I was trying to handle it quietly. I was trying to protect property values and morale. Karen's composure cracked slightly. But James has gone public, so now you deserve to know the truth. This isn't about one pool incident. It's about protecting our community from a corporate predator. Marcus's phone buzzed with a text from Donald. She's going nuclear. This is either genius or suicide. Another hand rose. Deborah Patterson. What do you need from us? Unity, Karen said simply. James Brennan is counting on this community turning against itself. Resident versus resident, board versus homeowners. If we fracture, he wins. But if we stand together, if we support Marcus Chen's right to press charges, if we fight the purchase offer, if we make it clear this community can't be bullied, then we have a chance. She turned to look directly at Marcus. And I need you all to understand, Marcus is the victim here. He was assaulted. His medical equipment was destroyed. And now he's being smeared on the news because he had the courage to hold someone accountable. If we don't support him, we're telling every bully in this community that actions don't have consequences. The room fell silent. Then slowly Mrs. Rodriguez started clapping. Mrs. Patterson joined her. Then Mr. Kim. Then others until most of the room was applauding. But not everyone. Robert Callahan sat with his arms crossed. A few others looked uncomfortable, unconvinced. This wasn't over. After the meeting, Marcus was surrounded by well-wishers. People he barely knew hugged him, thanked him, promised their support. It was overwhelming and surreal and exhausting. Alina pulled him aside, her expression worried. This is getting too big, too public. I know. You can still back out, take the money, move somewhere quieter. Marcus looked around the room, at Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd recorded James Brennan's bribe attempt, At the Pattersons, who'd been terrorized by Tyler's late-night antics. At Donald and Sarah, who'd voted to evict Tyler knowing it would make them targets. At Corinne, standing alone by the projector, packing up her equipment with the weary efficiency of someone who'd fought 1,000 battles. "I can't, Mom, not now." "Because of Corinne. Because of all of them." Marcus gestured to the room. "These are our neighbors, our community. If I back down, I'm telling them that money and power always win, that people like the Brennans can do whatever they want without consequences. And if you keep fighting, what then? Then maybe, just maybe, we win something that actually matters." Eleanor studied her son for a long moment, then sighed. "You get this stubborn streak from your father. It's going to get you in trouble." "It already has." She hugged him tightly. "Then I guess we'd better win." As they left the community center, Marcus noticed a black Mercedes parked across the street. Inside, barely visible in the tinted windows, he could see someone watching. James Brennan. Their eyes met for just a moment. James didn't look angry. He looked calculating, like a chess player studying an opponent's unexpected move. Then the Mercedes pulled away, disappearing into the evening traffic. Marcus's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You had your moment, Chen. Enjoy it. Because it's the last time you'll feel like you're winning. My father doesn't lose, ever. And when this is over, you'll wish you'd taken the $25,000. Marcus deleted the message, but the words lingered. Because deep down, in a place he didn't want to acknowledge, he wondered if Tyler was right. What if they really couldn't win? What if all of this, the police report, the community meeting, the public battle, was just delaying the inevitable? What if Corinne's calculated warfare and his own stubborn courage weren't enough against someone who'd built an empire on crushing people who stood in his way? Marcus looked back at the community center, where Corinne was the last one out, locking the doors with careful precision. She looked small in the lamplight, older than her 56 years, carrying the weight of 18 years of battles. She caught him watching and nodded once, a general acknowledging a soldier. And Marcus realized something that both terrified and steadied him. They were all in this together now, for better or worse, win or lose. There was no going back. Only forward into whatever storm James Brennan was about to unleash. The storm came at 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, exactly 9 days after the community meeting. Marcus was brushing his teeth when his phone erupted with notifications. Texts, emails, missed calls. His mother pounded on the bathroom door, her voice urgent. "Marcus, you need to see this." He opened the door to find Eleanor standing in the living room, her face pale, the TV remote trembling in her hand. Channel 8 News was showing aerial footage of Pinewood Springs, but something was wrong. Fire trucks lined the streets. Smoke billowed from Building C. "Extensive damage to at least 6 units, the anchor was saying. "Fire investigators are on scene, but early reports suggest the blaze may have been deliberately set. Residents have been evacuated, and authorities are treating this as potential arson." Marcus's phone rang. "Corinne." "Where are you?" Her voice was sharp with controlled panic. "Home, Building A. What happened?" "Someone firebombed the electrical room in Building C at 4 a.m. The sprinkler system failed. Turns out it was sabotaged 2 days ago, but maintenance didn't notice. 6 units are destroyed. Another 8 have water and smoke damage." A pause. "Marcus, one of the destroyed units belongs to Mrs. Rodriguez." The world tilted. "Is she?" "She's fine. She was visiting her daughter in Orlando, but everything she owns is gone." Corinne's breathing was ragged. "The fire marshal found accelerant. This was deliberate. This was meant to send a message." "James Brennan." "We can't prove that, not yet, but Marcus." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "They spray-painted something on the side of Building C before they set the fire. The news cameras haven't shown it yet, but I saw it. It says, 'This is what happens when you don't take the deal.'" Marcus's legs gave out. He sat heavily on the couch, his mother's hand on his shoulder. "The police," he managed. "Already here. Arson investigation, ATF is coming in. Detective Vasquez called me 20 minutes ago. She wants to talk to you." "Corinne, I'm so sorry. I never thought." "Stop, this isn't your fault. This is James Brennan showing us he's willing to burn down the entire community to get what he wants." A long pause. "Marcus, I need you to listen very carefully. You're in danger. Real danger. If he's willing to commit arson, he's willing to do worse. What do you want me to do? Stay home, lock your doors, don't go anywhere alone. I'm calling an emergency board meeting for noon, but only by Zoom. Nobody comes to the community center until we know what we're dealing with. Coren's voice hardened. And Marcus, don't you dare think about backing down. That's exactly what he wants. After she hung up, Marcus sat in numb silence, watching the news coverage. They were interviewing residents now, people standing in their pajamas, wrapped in blankets, looking traumatized. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, their faces streaked with soot. The young couple from 3C, holding their baby, everything they owned reduced to ash. Alina turned off the TV. Pack a bag. What? Pack a bag, you're not staying here. Her voice was firm, the nurse tone that didn't allow argument. If they're willing to burn down buildings, they're willing to hurt you. You're coming to stay with me. Mom, I can't run away. I'm not asking you to run away. I'm asking you to be smart. Your apartment has a sliding glass door on the ground floor. Anyone could break in. My unit is on the 3rd floor, end of the hall, with security cameras. You'll be safer there. She was already moving toward his bedroom, pulling out a duffel bag. Pack, now. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Donald. Did you see the news? This is insane. Board meeting at noon. Stay safe. Then one from Sarah Martinez. I'm scared. What have we gotten ourselves into? Then from an unknown number. Last warning, Chen. Drop the charges or next time it won't be empty units. Marcus screenshotted it and forwarded it to Detective Vasquez immediately. Her call came within 2 minutes. Mr. Chen, have you received any other threats this morning? Just that one. Did you see the fire? I'm at the scene now. Marcus, I'm going to be blunt. This has escalated beyond a simple assault case. I'm recommending you get a restraining order against Tyler Brennan and his father. I'm also recommending you consider relocating temporarily until we can identify who's responsible for this. You think it's the Brennans? I think someone with money and connections just committed felony arson, attempted murder, and terrorist threats. That's federal territory. FBI is already involved. Papers rustled on her end. The accelerant was military grade. The sprinkler system was professionally disabled. This wasn't some random vandal. This was planned by someone with resources. Can you prove it was them? Not yet, but we will. In the meantime, you need to protect yourself. Vasquez's voice softened. Mr. Chen, I've worked a lot of cases where victims get scared and back down. I wouldn't blame you if you did. But I'm telling you, if you drop the charges now, it tells James Brennan that terrorism works, and he'll use it again. After the call ended, Marcus packed his bag with shaking hands. Clothes, insulin supplies, his backup glucose monitor, the destroyed pump still in its evidence bag, his laptop. His mother watched from the doorway. You're still going to fight, aren't you? I have to. Why risk everything for this? Marcus zipped the bag and met her eyes. Because Mrs. Rodriguez lost everything this morning. Because the Pattersons are standing in the parking lot with nothing but their pajamas. Because if I back down, I'm telling every bully in the world that violence and fear are the price of doing business. He picked up the bag. Dad would have fought. Alina's eyes filled with tears. Your father died at 54 from a heart attack caused by stress. He fought every battle like it was life or death, and it killed him. I don't want to lose you too. You won't, but I can't live with myself if I walk away now. The Zoom meeting at noon was chaos. 23 screens, everyone talking over each other, fear and anger and confusion bleeding through every pixelated face. Coren's face filled the main screen, and when she spoke, the room went silent. I'll make this quick because we're all scared and exhausted. The fire marshal has confirmed arson. The FBI is investigating. The message spray-painted on Building C suggests this is connected to our recent HOA actions. She paused. I've received a message from James Brennan's attorney, Mitchell Carrington. He's demanding an emergency meeting to discuss de-escalation. De-escalation, Sarah Martinez's voice was shrill. They burned down half a building. We can't prove that yet, Donald said carefully. Innocent until proven guilty. Don't be naive, Mrs. Patterson snapped. The message said take the deal. What deal? The only deal on the table is James Brennan's purchase offer and his son's bribe to Marcus. Marcus's screen was muted, but he could feel everyone's eyes on his square in the grid. Coren's expression was unreadable. The attorney has implied that if we drop the criminal charges against Tyler and accept James's purchase offer, The situation will be resolved peacefully. He called it unfortunate timing that this fire happened while we were in negotiations. That's a threat, someone said off-screen. It's plausible deniability, Karen corrected. And it's effective, because right now everyone here is terrified. Some of you have lost your homes, others are wondering if you're next. And you're all looking at me and Marcus and thinking, is this worth it? The screens went silent. Karen leaned closer to her camera. I'm going to tell you something I've never said publicly. 18 years ago, when I first joined this board, Pinewood Springs was falling apart. The previous management company had embezzled funds. The buildings were deteriorating. Property values were tanking. People were losing their homes. She pulled up a photo. The complex from 2007, paint peeling, pools empty, landscaping dead. I could have walked away, I should have. I was grieving my husband, raising 2 teenage daughters alone, working full-time. But I didn't walk away because communities don't save themselves. Someone has to care enough to fight. And for 18 years, I've fought for better maintenance, fair fees, safety, dignity. Another photo appeared, Pinewood Springs today, well-maintained, vibrant home. James Brennan wants to turn us back into that first photo. He wants us desperate and defeated so he can buy us for pennies and flip us for profit. And he's willing to burn us down to make it happen. Karen's voice was steel. So I'm asking each of you, do we let him win? Do we take his deal and teach our children that terrorism works? Or do we stand together and prove that community is stronger than money? Robert Callahan's screen unmuted. Easy for you to say, your building didn't burn. You're right, my building is fine, I'm safe and comfortable, which is exactly why I'm staying in this fight. Karen's eyes blazed. But I won't force anyone else to. If you want to vote to accept James's offer, I'll step down and let the deal go through. No judgment, no shame, just democracy. We need to vote, Sarah said quietly. Right now, before anyone else gets hurt. Karen nodded. All in favor of accepting James Brennan's purchase offer and dropping all actions against his son, type yes in the chat. All opposed, type no. Marcus watched the chat window, his heart pounding. Donald Kim, no. Sarah Martinez, no. Deborah Patterson, no. Mrs. Rodriguez on her daughter's account, hell no. Maylin Torres, no. Then a pause. Robert Callahan, yes. David Foster, yes. 3 other names Marcus didn't recognize, yes. The final count appeared on screen. 18 no, 5 yes. Karen nodded slowly. The motion fails. We continue to fight, but she held up a hand. Anyone who wants to sell their individual unit and leave, I won't stop you. I won't judge you. You have to do what's best for your families. What happens now? Someone asked. Now we let the FBI do their job. We document everything. We support each other. And we wait for James Brennan to make his next move. Karen's smile was grim. Because he will. Men like him always do. After the meeting ended, Marcus sat in his mother's apartment, staring at his reflection in the blank screen. His phone buzzed with a call from Detective Vasquez. Mr. Chen, we have a problem. Tyler Brennan's arraignment was this morning. I know you weren't required to be there. But his lawyer argued that the arson this morning proves Tyler is being targeted by a vindictive HOA, that you're all conspiring against him. The judge didn't buy it completely, but he did reduce bail to $10,000. Tyler's already out. He's out after arson. We can't prove he set the fire. We can barely prove anyone connected to him said it. The accelerant was purchased with cash 3 weeks ago from a military surplus store in Tallahassee. No cameras, no credit cards, no paper trail. Vasquez sighed. Marcus, whoever planned this knew exactly what they were doing. This is professional. So what do? We build the assault case and hope the arson investigation produces evidence. But Marcus, she paused. Tyler was released 2 hours ago. Since then, he's posted on social media 17 times. All of them are about you. What kind of posts? Accusations. Calling you a liar, a con artist, saying you're working with Karen to extort his family. He's doxing you, posting your address, your workplace, your mother's information. His followers are harassing you online. Some are making threats. Marcus checked Twitter. His mentions were a nightmare. Hundreds of messages calling him a scammer, a fraud, worse. People had found his LinkedIn, his Facebook, his mother's nursing profiles. They'd posted photos of his apartment building, his car, his license plate. Someone had created a hashtag, Justice for Tyler. It was trending. "This is insane," Marcus whispered. "This is what powerful people do when they're cornered. They weaponize their followers." Vasquez's voice was grim. "I'm filing for an emergency restraining order against Tyler. It won't stop the online harassment, but it'll make it illegal for him to contact you directly. In the meantime, lock down your social media. Don't engage, don't respond. Let his lawyer think he's winning." That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. Every sound made him jump. Every notification sent adrenaline through his system. He lay in the guest bed in his mother's apartment, watching shadows move across the ceiling, wondering how his life had spiraled so completely out of control. At 2:47 a.m., his phone buzzed with an email from Karen. "Marcus, I know you're scared. I know you're questioning whether this is worth it. I know you probably hate me for dragging you into this war. But I need you to understand something. What we're doing matters, not just for Pinewood Springs, for every community that's ever been bullied by someone with more money and fewer ethics. James Brennan has spent his career crushing people who stand in his way. He's counting on us to be like all the others, scared, divided, defeated. He's counting on you to take the money and disappear. Don't give him that satisfaction. We're going to win this. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month, but we're going to win because we have something he doesn't have: community. Real community. People who care about each other more than they care about being comfortable. Mrs. Rodriguez lost everything today, but tonight she's sleeping in Mrs. Patterson's guest room. The Pattersons lost their home too, but they're sharing space with the Torres family. Donald is coordinating a fundraiser. Sarah is organizing meal trains. People are showing up for each other. That's what James Brennan can't buy. That's what he can't burn down. So rest tonight. Tomorrow we keep fighting. "'Kay." Marcus read the email 3 times, then set his phone aside. Through the thin walls, he could hear his mother's gentle snoring, the sound that had comforted him through childhood nightmares and teenage heartbreaks. He thought about Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd lost everything but was already planning to rebuild. About the Pattersons, who'd opened their damaged home to displaced neighbors. About Karen, who'd spent 18 years fighting battles that benefited everyone but herself. And he thought about his father, who died too young from a heart that carried too much weight, but who'd taught Marcus that some things were worth fighting for. Marcus picked up his phone and typed one message to Karen. "I'm not backing down." Her response came within seconds. "I know, that's why we're going to win." 3 days later, the FBI arrested Mitchell Carrington's paralegal on charges of conspiracy to commit arson. She'd been having an affair with Tyler Brennan for 6 months. In exchange for immunity, she testified that Tyler had bragged about teaching those HOA bitches a lesson and had shown her photos of the spray-painted message before the fire. 2 days after that, FBI agents raided James Brennan's office and found encrypted communications between him and a security consultant with ties to organized crime. 1 week after that, Tyler Brennan was arrested at his father's house and charged with first-degree arson, conspiracy, and terrorist threats. His bail was set at $500,000. James Brennan held a tearful press conference, claiming his son was innocent and being framed by a corrupt HOA. Nobody believed him anymore. 3 weeks after that, the state attorney offered a plea deal. Tyler would plead guilty to assault, criminal mischief, and conspiracy to commit arson in exchange for 5 years in prison with possibility of parole after 3. He would also be required to pay full restitution to all fire victims, over $800,000. James Brennan's company collapsed under the weight of the scandal. His purchase offer for Pinewood Springs was withdrawn. 2 of his other properties went into foreclosure. And Marcus Chen, standing in the rebuilt community center at a celebration dinner for Mrs. Rodriguez's new apartment, raised a glass of sparkling cider alongside Karen Whitmore. "To community," Karen said quietly. "To justice," Marcus replied. "To stubborn people who don't know when to quit," Eleanor added, squeezing her son's shoulder. Karen smiled, a real smile this time, warm and genuine. "Marcus, I have something for you." She handed him an envelope. Inside was a check for $7,000, the exact cost of his insulin pump, and a letter on HOA letterhead. "Mr. Marcus Chen, on behalf of the Pinewood Springs HOA Board of Directors, please accept this reimbursement for medical equipment destroyed during the incident of July 17. 2024. Additionally, the board has voted unanimously to waive all HOA fees for your unit for the next 12 months in recognition of your courage and community service. Furthermore, the board has officially amended Section 4.7, Garden Regulations, to allow vegetable gardens in designated planting areas, and Section 6.2, Door Colors, to include navy blue as an approved option. Thank you for reminding us what this community is really about. Respectfully, Karen Whitmore, HOA President. Donald Kim, Treasurer. Sarah Martinez, Secretary. Marcus looked up, his eyes stinging. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Karen touched his arm gently. You saved this community, Marcus. The least I can do is let your mother grow tomatoes. Eleanor laughed, wiping her own eyes. I'm planting peppers too, really hot ones, the kind Tyler complained about. Around them, the community center buzzed with conversation and laughter. Mrs. Rodriguez showed off photos of her new apartment. The Pattersons talked about the renovations to their unit. Donald and Sarah argued good-naturedly about next year's budget. This was what James Brennan couldn't understand, Marcus realized. This messy, imperfect, beautiful thing called community, where people fought and forgave and showed up for each other when it mattered most. Where even the tyrant HOA president turned out to be the hero all along. Karen raised her glass higher. One more toast to Marcus Chen, the man who got pushed into a swimming pool and came out fighting. To Marcus, the room chorused. And as Marcus looked around at faces that had become friends, at a community that had become family, he realized something profound. Sometimes the pool you're pushed into is exactly where you needed to land. Sometimes the fight you didn't ask for is the one that changes everything. And sometimes justice doesn't come with a neat bow and a happy ending. It comes with scars and struggle, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing you stood up when it mattered most. Tyler Brennan had pushed him into that pool thinking it would be funny content for TikTok. Instead, he'd pushed Marcus into purpose. And that made all the difference. 6 months later, Marcus stood in his newly renovated kitchen, the walls painted navy blue, HOA approved, preparing dinner while his continuous glucose monitor beeped happily on his hip. His mother's vegetable garden was thriving on the balcony, heavy with tomatoes and peppers and herbs that filled the apartment with scents Tyler would have complained about. His phone buzzed with a news alert. Former developer James Brennan sentenced to 7 years for conspiracy, wire fraud, and obstruction of justice. Marcus deleted it without reading further. That chapter was closed. Outside his window, he could see the rebuilt units in Building C, better than before. Mrs. Rodriguez was watering her new plants on her balcony, waving at neighbors. The Pattersons were hosting a barbecue by the pool, the same pool where everything had started. Karen walked past his window, tablet in hand, heading to check that someone's trash bins weren't out too early. Some things never changed. But some things changed everything. And Marcus Chen, survivor of assault and accidental hero, was exactly where he was supposed to be. Home,